You're watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to another episode of Takeshi Tuesdays. Today we'll be talking about the 1995 Takeshi Kitano movie, Getting Any. Now, the original Japanese title for Getting Any is Mina Yataru Kai, which literally translates to, Is Everyone Doing It? It runs for 110 minutes and was released on February 2nd, 1995. This is actually the final movie that Takeshi filmed before the accident, but it wasn't released until after the accident. If you don't know what I'm referring to, I did do an episode on it, but he had a motorcycle accident in 1994. But this was filmed before the accident, but released after, so he is not paralyzed when you see him in the movie, but by the time it was released, he already was. The movie itself makes a lot of references to Japanese pop culture and movies from around the time period it was released. And it does have its share of scatological humor as well. The movie itself is a comedy, which is a kind of a different type of movie than he'd directed before, so he was kind of going back to his comedic roots, because if you don't know, he started up as a stand-up comedian as part of a double group called 2 Beat, before eventually going solo and then eventually starting his own career with film. The movie itself actually wasn't very well known in Japan. In an interview in 2003, he actually said this was one of his 3 favorite movies out of the 10 he had directed at that time. So he actually really enjoyed this movie himself, Takeshi did. He wasn't actually the main character in the movie itself, but he was a character in it later on, but he didn't show up until like the last 30 minutes of the movie or so, and he played a mad scientist. Now, the plot of this movie is separated basically into different skits. It's basically like several mini-movies in one, but with the same character carrying through. Now, the main character is just a guy who's obsessed with trying to get laid, and that's like the whole basis for the movie, is he's going around trying different methods to get laid and failing. He tries getting a car, he tries being a movie star, he tries getting on an airplane for some reason. He thinks that you'll get laid if you're on an airplane. Tries to get money by robbing a bank. He tries all sorts of things. And he does actually end up joining the Yakuza at one point. That doesn't go well. He gets turned invisible by a mad scientist. Again, that mad scientist being played by Takeshi himself. Getting turned into a giant monster like a kaiju, like a big fly man. There's all sorts of crazy shit that happens in this movie, and it's fantastic. It's definitely different than the other movies I've reviewed here on this series, but it's definitely a breath of fresh air. I'd highly recommend checking out Getting Any because it is a weird one. It's definitely not for everyone, but if you like oddball comedy, then you'll definitely enjoy it. More in line with a sketch comedy among the likes of, let's say, Monty Python's Flying Circus or Saturday Night Live than it does Takeshi's other movies, but I'd still highly recommend checking it out. Anyway, this has been Fugitive Red-Eye, and you have a great rest of the day.
Subscribe to Fugitive Red-Eye.